So the MCU has been running for a good 14 years now. Well, it seems to most, including me a bit, Phase 4 was getting pretty stale apart from the odd few great flicks and shows. However, a recent addition that surprised me is the one I'll be covering today, and that is Wakanda Forever. So let's just get right into it. This is a 2022 film and is the Black Panther sequel, being the 30th film in the MCU. It is again directed by Ryan Coogler, who co-wrote with Joe Robert Cole. The plot overall follows Queen Rwanda, Shuri, M'Baku, Okoye, and Dodora Milaje, protecting their nation from the world powers during the wake of the King T'Challa's death. However, they must get help from Nakia and Everett Ross when another secret kingdom wants to join together for malicious intent. Queen Ramonda is once again played by Angela Bassett, Shuri is once again played by Letitia Wright, Baku is once again played by Winston Duke, Okoye is once again played by Dania Gura, Nakia is once again played by Lupita Nyong'o, Everett Ross is once again played by Martin Freeman, Ayo is once again played by Florence Kasbumba, Michelle Cole joins the cast as Anika, who takes upon the mantle as the Midnight Angels along with Okoye in the film. Riri Williams joins the cast as an MIT student and prodigy who creates a suit of armour similar to Iron Man's, and also a machine that can detect vibranium, which the US government starts to use, and overall she is played by Dominique Fromm. And finally, Namor joins the cast as King of Tok'lan, who is a secret civilization underwater. He's overall seen as the feathered separate god Gokulan. And I'm also, again, just very sorry if I mispronounce any names here. It's not really a excuse, but I'm not really from around this culture, so sometimes I will mess up in pronunciations, but I do try my best, I promise, guys. After the release of the original film in February 2018, producer Kevin Feige has said there were many stories to tell with the character, and that he wanted Coogler to return to the sequel. The studio as a whole wanted pretty much the exact creative team they had to say. Saying it was a bit early to discuss a sequel, Disney chairman Alan F. Horn wanted Coogler back as well. Overall, the director wanted to see how T'Challa would grow as king, since his reign has only begun, while in the comics he had always been a king since being a child. By March 2018, Feige said there was nothing specific to reveal. They had pretty much a solid direction for where they wanted to go for a sequel. In the same month, Chadwick's agent Michael Green was in negotiations to have the actor return as T'Challa in two planned sequels for around $10 million and then $20 million for both films. By that October, Coogler had then closed a deal to return to the film. Even though both him and the studio knew they would work with each other again, he said he still wanted to take his time before signing anything, since he didn't want to rush into anything. He overall began writing in early 2019, with filming planned to start in later on in the year or early 2020. In November 2018, Wright confirmed she'll be returning as Shuri, and Bassett's husband, Courtney B. Vance, said she'll be returning as Ramonda. Heck, he was even the one that even spoiled Michael B. Jordan's return as Killmonger, where she agreed. However, Feige quickly tried to cover it up, saying it was a rumour saying Coogler had only begun writing. In the following month, John Caney expressed his interest in returning as T'Challa in the film, while Donya stated that Coogler wanted her to return as well. Feige would go on to announce the film's development at San Diego Comic-Con 2019, while Freeman confirmed in August that he'd be reprising his role as Ross. A release date of May 6, 2022 was announced at D23, along with the simple title, Black Panther 2 being the placeholder title. The producer would go on to say that Coogler had completed a script treatment for the film that did include a new villain and a new title. By the end of the year, Ruth A. Carter confirmed that she would be returning as the costume designer for this film, that she would begin work in the fall. Unfortunately though, on August 28, 2020, Boseman passed away from colon cancer. Coogler was unaware of the actor's illness like many and said for the last year he had been working on the film. Even then, he turned in a script draft to the studio. Feige and the other executives were also unaware as well. The actor even became thinner from his illness weeks prior to his death and was planning on bulking back up in September 2020, before planning filming in March 2021. The Hollywood Reporter had industry observers feel that Disney would recast, however a lot of fans would not react well to it, although it changed the plans to have a character like Shuri take on the mantle as Black Panther, which did happen in the comic books. In mid-November 2020, producer Victoria Osuna stated that they would not be replacing Boseman with a digital double, as rumours started to flow, and that they were taking their time to work out how to move forward. Later that month, Lupita, Winston, and Angela all confirmed to reprise their roles, while Tenchon started talks to play Namor. At that time, filming was expected to begin in June or July of 2021 in Atlanta, Georgia. In December 2020, the film's release date got pushed back to July 8th, 2022, and Feige also confirmed the role T'Challa would not be recast, with the sequel exploring the world and characters of the first film. He even reassured again that the character would not be appearing through special effects. By the end of the month, the actor's makeup designer, C.M. Richards, was set to return to the sequel. However, his personal costume designer, Craig Anthony, said he would not be returning, due to the actor's passing, while his hair designer, Deanna Dixon, was unsure if she would return or not, also stating that her sister also passed away around the same time. In the same month, Michael B. Jordan said he was willing to reprise his role as Killmonger due to his love for the character and his love for working with Coogler. By February, Daniel Kaluuya said he was unsure if he could reprise his role as W'Kabi from the first film, and ultimately he did not, due to scheduling conflicts with the film Nope. In March 2021, Coogler said he was still writing the script, and said working on the film without Boseman was the hardest thing he'd ever done with his career. He added that the actor was the only one that held the first one together, and as a director he needed to be one keeping the sequel together. He was able to reuse many elements of the original plan for the film, while incorporating the themes of people's hurt as much as he could. Details of the original script is that it would explore T'Challa dealing with resuming his life after the blip, and grieving the loss of time. Lupita had gone on to express her excitement for the director's plans and how everyone involved was dedicated to continuing Boseman's legacy. The film also continues exploring the feminist themes from the first film, with the actress saying that the film would tackle the beliefs, passions, love and arguments of female characters. Moving on a little bit to Namor's character, they changed his homeland from the comic books, which was Atlantis, to Tukola, which is a hidden underwater civilization which is inspired by ancient Mayan culture. Older creators worked with Mayan historians and explored to portray this. Coogler noted that Tukola was similar to Wakanda in that it was also an advanced civilization hiding in plain sight, with Namor saying that the two find themselves in conflict because they're not that dissimilar. Hannah Beachler also returned as production designer, noting that the visual inspirations for this was Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and Jack Kirby's comic imagery to portray this civilization. In May 2021, the company revealed the film's title as Wakanda Forever. Originally, its title was intended to be for a potential third film before the creatives decided to use it for this one, with most stating that the title felt right because it's a story about legacy and persistence, which is what the battle cry stands for. By the end of the month, Freeman said that he had read the script and expressed his excitement for the film. Filming overall started at Triller Studios in Atlanta, Georgia on June 29, 2021. Autumn Julia Arkapaw was cinematographer after working on Loki. They overall replaced Rachel Morrison, who was a long-time contributor with Coogler, where she did plan to return for this film but was unable to due to scheduling conflicts with her own film, Full and Strong, which got messed up about due to COVID. Pretty much all the actors bonded together on set while dealing with the grief of Boseman, with Lita and Dina particularly connecting through many walks they had together. Dina further went on to explain that the hardest part for her was filming on the throne set, as she remembered filming scenes with the actor and that Coogler really helped her process with grief. Bassett said in July that the screenplay was still undergoing changes due to Chadwick's passing, and it had gone through at least 5 drafts. She also indicated that the first film's co-writer, Joe Robert Cole, was contributing to the script, which Feige went on to confirm. Around the same time with these comments, Cole joined the cast as an undisclosed role, and by August, Thawne began filming her scenes before film for the Ironheart series. Filming that month was expected to take place at MIT as well. However, on August 25th, Wright was temporarily hospitalized due to minor injuries sustained in an accident while filming the stunt in Boston. She then went back to her home in London for recovery in September, while filming continued around their character scenes. In late October, the film's release was delayed to November 11, 2022. The production also moved to Mary Cross Waterfront Park in Georgia by October 22nd, where filming carried on from the 28th to the 2nd of November. Details overall for this filming was described to have used a 300-foot cruise ship, used a lot of water, and was filmed at night. The scenes that did not require Wright were complete by November 5th, before production went on hiatus from the 19th. Now From Here was a massive controversy, and I've decided not to state my opinion to not piss either side off. But on November 8th, the United States Centers of Disease Control and Prevention implemented new rules which required non-US citizens to be fully vaccinated before going into the US. And well, Riot is anti-vax, so obviously that couldn't work. However, by late January 2022, filming resumed with the actress in Atlanta. The film was expected to be 4 weeks, but even then it got delayed a week due to Luptia testing positive for COVID. Vaughn overall completed her filming by March 13th, 2022, with additional photography beginning on March 18th in Puerto Rico, where filming wrapped on March 24th. In June 2022, Uita confirmed to be appearing in the film, and he was then officially announced to be Namor at San Diego Comic-Con 2022 in the next month. Reshoots would begin with the cast after this event as well. Michael P. Schuver returned as editor of the film. Music-wise, in September 2021, it was revealed that Ludwig Göransson was set to return as composer for the sequel, with his score being released by Hollywood Records on November 11th of 2022. There's also a prologue for the soundtrack released on July 25th of 2022 that indicates a cover of Bob Marley's No Woman No Cry with Thames, which was used for the film's teaser. A Body, a Coffin by Amare, and Soy by Santa Fe Clan. Göransson overall produced all 3 songs and co-wrote A Body, a Coffin. In late October, it was announced that the film's lead single would be Lift Me Up by Rihanna, which was written by her, Thames, Göransson, and Coogler as a tribute to Boseman. It was also marked as the first solo musical output from the artist since 2016, and was released on October 28th, 2022. The film premiered in Hollywood on October 26 and then premiered in Nigeria on November 6. It began releasing internationally on November 9th and on the US on November 11th, all in 2022. As of me writing the script on November 27, 2022, the film has grossed $367.7 million in the US and $307.9 million everywhere else, overall making $675.6 million so far. Critically, Rotten Tomatoes has given the film an 84% based on 381 reviews. Metacritic gave it a 67 out of 100 based on 62 reviews. Even then, so far has been nominated for 2 awards and has even won 1 credit for its music. Revealed that both Kruger and Feige have been having talks about a third film. Even then, Moore stated that the Ironheart series will be a direct sequel to this film and will premiere in this year. Now, before I get into my own thoughts, I've decided to bring a massive fan of this character onto the channel to give his own thoughts today, and I'll let him take it away, so welcome MrTecca. Okay guys, so before we actually get into Tekka's part, I'm just going to briefly, just quickly address something in this video. So essentially, you might have heard of this already on a different thing, with another collab that's on mine and somebody else's channel, but you might not, so it's just weird with the schedule I have at the minute. But essentially, while I was ill this bit currently from me recording, and Tekka was ill for a bit so he couldn't do his lines, I started reflecting kind of on the editing of my videos and started working on a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special video, which will be next week, and decided to change the editing style a bit. So now, starting from Tekka's lines, the editing will be in that format. So kind of the confusion that you'll have is it's my old editing at the start, and then from Tekka's line, it's the new editing. So I'd like to apologize for that in advance, but yeah, that's how it is. And now let's actually finally get to Tekka's lines.
Hey, what's up everyone? If you don't know me, my name is Tekka, aka MrTecca, but you can call me Tekka for short. I'm a movie reviewer / movie news guide, letting you know what is new and what is coming. So let's get right to it. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, a movie that won't ever be forgotten. A great send-off to not only Chadwick Boseman, but a great send-off to his Black Panther in the MCU. Now I'd like to point out that his funeral shown in the movie was so emotional for me, at least personally, as Chadwick's Black Panther was my most favourite character, especially what he stood for, When the first trailer for Captain America Civil War released, I fell in love with him. And this was a whole new character to me. And I was like, I don't know much about this character, but I'm looking forward to seeing this guy. And as soon as I watched that movie, I fell in love with him as a character. But, well, in this movie, what I also loved was that every time they had a moment for Chadwick, Marvel just made it a moment of silence. And I loved that. And it affected the audience. It was just so quiet. You could see how that impacted and affected the audience and how well Marvel showed it. But let's just say, Shuri went through so much in this movie. Let's just say she is definitely now one of the most emotionally broken characters in the MCU. In this movie as well, I thought the story was pretty well written. For me, it was paced very well, and how long the runtime was, I think it was a good idea having it that long. As if we didn't, it probably would have felt rushed and not very entertaining. Also, Namor, gosh damn. Sean, you gotta agree, Namor was a badass. I don't know how about you, but he would be the guy you do not want to be in the room with when they're angry. Namor was such a great character, honestly. Definitely, he was one of my favourite MCU characters in that movie, and he will now be one of my favourite MCU movies. He will be one of my favourite characters now. Sorry about that. I just fell in love with him, and what he's driven by, and the culture of Namor was amazing on how his people became who they were in the movie at that current time. But compared to DC's Atlantis, I preferred Talokan. I hope I'm saying that right, as it seemed more realistic to being and living in the ocean. But one thing I wish they sort of added more was screen time of Talokan. Even though it was enough, I would have liked to have seen it a bit more. But also, I wish they added more screen time for Ironheart, aka Riri Williams. Not much, but a little more, if you get what I mean. Also, the way we found out about T'Challa's son was so shocking. I mean, we all saw it coming, but we never thought, some of us thought it wasn't actually going to actually happen. But they actually did do it. And he looks so much like Chadwick. It was so crazy. I cannot wait to see his story in the future of Marvel. And I also cannot wait to see more of Shuri, not only her character, but her version of Black Panther. Her character arc was so great in this movie. I would love to see more of Namor. I hope he's in more projects. And M'Baku, wow, he is now the king of Wakanda. That was a shock. I loved how he spoke to Shuri and said T'Challa wanted him to look after Shuri and be there for her when she was particularly in a down, or she was down, or she needed someone to talk to. And I loved that. Ironheart was a great character. She was essentially like how we would act if we were in a suit like hers. The suit was a bit goofy though, I have to admit. But the whole movie shouldn't be judged by that. One last thing before we go. Thank you, Sean, for of course having me. I'm glad that we could finally get this video out to everyone, as we've had a few delays with me being ill and Sean just recently getting over his illness as well. One last thing. I really do not see how so many people, most likely the people that have recently come and been introduced to Marvel over the past few years, is that they were the people saying Black Panther Wakanda Forever was mid, and they didn't see how emotional it was. I suppose for me, Chadwick playing one of my favourite characters in the MCU, I suppose for me I was more emotionally connected to the movie, because it sort of meant something to me. But I know there was a lot more people that it meant something to as well. But I know not everyone's going to enjoy the movie, and I know there's some people that won't find it as emotional as some. But that really got me stunned. We all know Phase 4 wasn't the best, but Wakanda Forever revived our love for Marvel, I think. Phase 4 has not been the best, like I just said. I'm really excited for Phase 5. Phase 5 seems to be where we're gonna get the good stuff. Like Phase 1 and some of 2, this Phase 4 was supposed to just be introducing new characters that we are going to be seeing in the future, and characters that people are going to fall in love with. Of course, as well, some added stuff is Marvel has said that I think they're going over quality over quantity now. As we know, we literally had one phase gone in 2 years. Just let that sink in. Considering phase 1, 2 and 3 took a decade to complete. And I want another decade of that. I don't want to wait too long for sequels, even if it's just 6 years or 7 years. I do not care. I just want them to make good quality movies. As we know, the CGI's been icky. We can't judge some projects for that, as the pandemic delayed a lot of things and it was hard to work with. But apart from that, I'll let you guys get back to Sean. Sean, of course, thank you for having me. I hope we can collab again in the future. Peace out, guys. Go and follow my TikTok as well, MrTecca.
Thank you, Tekka, for joining on today's video. He does have a YouTube channel which I will link below, but most importantly he has a great TikTok account where he posts plenty of content, which I'll also put below. Now on to my thoughts. Honestly, this was a great movie and is one of my favourites from the MCU now. First off, they're so respectful with how they handle the past of Chadwick and his character, which honestly made me tear up at parts. The rest of the cast also played their characters brilliantly. My favourite were for sure Wright as Shuri, Artura as Namor, Bassett as Ramonda, and even then Duke as M'Baku. I just love this film's journey and found it to have one of the best endings of an MCU film so far as well. As a final note, I do very much prefer the first film's protagonist and antagonist, however this film very much is better in every other department. I'll give it a solid 4.5 out of 5 or a 9 out of 10. So that was me giving my overall thoughts on Wakanda Forever, even a bit of MrTecca's opinions, and then finally just the overall production of this film. Honestly, it had a lot of lows, but they rose above it and created this beautiful film, and honestly, I was very surprised. Like, I didn't believe this film was going to be terrible, but it wasn't really my highly anticipated film. It was just because, as much as I loved Chadwick's performance at the first and loved the direction, this, that and the other, I still found those problems with the first. But when I came to watch this in cinemas, I was just very shocked, and yeah, it's one of my favourite MCU films. I think it's in the top 6 at least. The ranking will be on the screen right now from Letterboxd, but it's definitely up there. And you must be wondering, well, how comes he gave it a 4.5 out of 5? Well, no MCU film in my ratings, if you look now, have ever had a 5 out of 5. I've always gave them the highest, a 4.5 out of 5. Is that me really being a hater on the MCU? Not really. I think the MCU has a lot of great projects, but I wouldn't really say there was any that have been perfect to me so far, like some other comic book counterparts. But hey, a little bit of a controversial thing to say there. But then, at the end of the day, this was still a beautiful and impactful film. So what are your thoughts, guys, on the film? Please comment them down below, and if you have any additional facts about the film, also comment them down below. If you like the video, please like, and well, subscribe if you've been watching the content for a while, particularly the MCU content I've been posting over like a good year now, maybe. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.